On April 26, 1986, at 1:23 a.m., a nuclear reactor exploded in Ukraine. What happened next was nearly the end of Europe, and 3 men volunteered to walk into certain death to stop it. As you consider the significance of this event, remember that the reactor in question, Reactor 4 at the Chernobyl nuclear power plant, was one of 4 reactors designed by the Soviet Union's top nuclear engineers, including Nikolai Fomin, who would later play a crucial role in the disaster's aftermath. In the years leading up to the disaster, the Soviet Union was experiencing a surge in nuclear energy production, with 25 reactors operational by 1985, including the 4 at Chernobyl, which provided 10% of Ukraine's electricity. The Chernobyl plant, located 130 kilometers north of Kiev, was a symbol of Soviet engineering prowess, with a capacity of 4,000 megawatts, enough to power 10 million homes. As you think about the priorities of the Soviet Union at the time, can you imagine what drove them to push the limits of safety in their nuclear program? The Soviet Union was also facing economic stagnation, with a 2% decline in GDP in 1985, and was under pressure to meet energy demands, which may have contributed to the culture of complacency that developed at Chernobyl. On the night of the disaster, Anatoly Dyatlov, the deputy chief engineer, was in charge of a safety test designed to determine how long the turbines would keep spinning and generating electricity in the event of a loss of power to the main cooling pumps, a crucial safety feature that would prevent a meltdown. However, the test violated at least 6 basic safety protocols, including the disabling of key safety systems, such as the emergency core cooling system, which could have prevented the disaster. At 1:23 a.m., the reactor power began to increase, and by 1:24 a.m., it had reached 30 times its normal level, causing a steam explosion that destroyed the reactor building and released 50 tons of radioactive material into the atmosphere. As you picture the scene in the control room, can you understand why the operators, including Dyatlov and his team, were so confident in their ability to control the reactor? The explosion was so powerful that it blew off the 1,000-ton steel and concrete lid that covered the reactor, releasing radioactive isotopes, including iodine-131, cesium-137, and strontium-90, into the environment. In the aftermath of the disaster, the nearby city of Pripyat, home to 49,000 people, was not evacuated for 36 hours, despite the fact that radiation levels were already 10 times higher than safe levels, with some areas reaching 1,800 microsieverts per hour. The delay was due in part to the Soviet cover-up, which included a statement by the Soviet news agency TASS, released 28 hours after the disaster, claiming that only 2 people had died and that the situation was under control. As you consider the consequences of this delay, can you imagine how many lives might have been saved if the evacuation had been ordered immediately? The eventual evacuation of Pripyat was completed by May 5, 1986, with over 100,000 people relocated from the surrounding area, and the city remains abandoned to this day, a haunting reminder of the disaster. The Chernobyl disaster led to a significant increase in thyroid cancer cases among children who were exposed to radioactive iodine, with over 6,000 cases reported in Ukraine, Belarus, and Russia, and a 10-fold increase in childhood thyroid cancer in the most affected areas. As you reflect on the legacy of Chernobyl, can you think of a more stark reminder of the importance of prioritizing safety and transparency in nuclear energy production?